There we go. That looks more professional-ish. All right. Let's continue to break, and then y'all can actually see me now. Heaven forbid you see the dark mage.
Dojo, Dark Mage in the house with the sick flow. You are now listening to Evil Dojo, Dark Mage in the house with the sick flow. You are now listening to Evil Dojo, Dark Mage in the house with the sick flow. You are now listening to Evil Dojo, Dark Mage in the house with the sick flow.
Hey you, I've been looking for you everywhere. So cold, you can't even feel my stare. Why try? I can do the shit anyway. So, cash in hand, we ain't got no time to play. Oh no, no, I can't do this alone. Oh no, no, I need that evil dojo. Oh no, no, where the fuck are you, Dark Mage? Oh yes, baby, I need that evil dojo. Oh.
stop me. The corporate world is the devil, I am godly. As long as I got my coffee, I am the motherfucking topic. I need my motherfucking coffee. Ain't not a person in the world who can stop me. The corporate world is the devil, I am godly. As long as I got my coffee, I am the motherfucking zombie. I need my motherfucking coffee. Ain't not a person in the world who can stop me. The corporate world is the devil, I am godly. As long as I got my coffee, I am the motherfucking zombie.
Okay, we have touched grass. We have returned. We have a new camera. Hell yeah. That's the first thing I show you is the devil symbol. Let's see here. Let me move it over to the couch. Nice, it's all sideways. Hell yeah. Oh, that's because it's sitting on paper. I've got some serious cord detangling I've got to do. All right. Let's see. Oh, that's because I put the fucking coffee mug in front of y'all. Damn. Let's see. You can see me, you can see Gracie. There we go. I do need to see the chat. I may not have been able to go to DEF CON this year. And I may not have been able to get to the local DEF CON meetups. I'm thinking about taking this girl with me. Just fucking going. Let's see. What's the least offensive camera angle for y'all? That's pretty good. Oh, this many years of being on the computer is taking a toll on me. That's for sure. I should really get like an at-home DDR setup, man. It's fucking time. I've got the space for it. I could set up pads like right behind me. I could even use the fucking couch as a bar when I'm playing. All I need is a really good metal pad, and I could straight start playing DDR again at home without spending any money other than the pad investment. That might be a good idea, actually. Because I don't get as much physical activity as I really need. Like, carrying this girl in and outdoors is, good on its own. Because it's basically the equivalent of, like, deadlifting, like a fifth of your body weight. No, maybe a sixth. Like 10 times a day, multiple times each time. So actually, because I pick her up, go outside, I drop her down, and then I usually pick her up and put her in a separate spot, and then I pick her back up to come back inside. So maybe out of those 10 times, each individual time involves 3 situations where I have to pick her up and then put her down. So that's like 30 deadlifts at a sixth of your body weight every day. So I get physical activity on that level, but it's not sustained. It's not the kind of cardio that I need. It's not the kind of aerobic that I need. So, and because I don't want to like leave her chilling at home, being worried and stuff, and the carriage that she's got isn't the most comfortable one. I think the best option for both of us, so that not only am I nearby to keep an eye on her, but I also get the physical activity that I've been missing, is to invest in a metal DDR pad. Because 1, I think people would enjoy watching me play. 2, I would actually have a lot of fun getting back into it. And because some of the best friends that I've ever made have been through that community. Some of the best times in my life were when I was deeply involved in that stuff, and it was really just like a side hobby while I was going to school. So something kind of fun comparing Aseprite to Stepmania, right, is that both of them use Lua underneath the hood. And if there's ever a time to like get into Lua with all of the drama surrounding Roblox, I realize y'all can't see me while I'm talking. Hold on. With all of the drama surrounding like Roblox and shit recently, it's never been a better time to get into Lua, or at least to like have a little bit of Lua chops. Damn. Not to mention for NeoVim. Here, let me pull the chats. Word. I can definitely do that. Hold on. Okay, let me pull the keyboard over. I see I have to do some serious detangling. Fuck. So my interest in security kind of emerges from code itself, right? Like, one of the things I'm always interested in is the fact that, like, through code itself, you can do just about anything. And as a result of this, there exists a space in code where, like, models of the world exist that are, like, outside of our domain. And what I mean by that is, it's one thing to build things, but it's another to take them apart and to deconstruct them and to understand, like, how they're built at a fundamental level. So I wish I had more reasons to, like, fuck with assembly code, for instance, right? When I was getting into compiler writing, I was hoping I was getting into that direction, and I kind of was, but it wasn't from the angle that I was expecting. So, like, compiler writing, for instance, I took a class on when I was a senior, and I loved that class. I learned a lot. It was one of the best classes I've ever taken. I took it for two reasons. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of had a little bit of a crush on my professor. She was kind of cute. And the content that she was teaching was also very intriguing. And I thought, wow, I should take her class. And of course, I found out she was married and all that stuff. But I ended up getting to work with her. And it was pretty great. worked on some like really like at the time very cutting edge, in my opinion, language toolkit stuff. Basically, she had written her own language that itself was a meta language, and it could be used to convert code from one language into another, as well as take existing code in one language, transform it, as in perform AST level optimizations, completely changing the structure of the AST itself in order to optimize it better, and then output it in the same language. So, and in addition to this, of course, you could like write programs in it, but its real use case, its real intended purpose was for like working with code itself as an object. And I thought that was really fascinating, really interesting, kind of like ahead of its time type shit. When I was working with her on the project, there were already corporations using her toolkit, like on multi-million-dollar code bases, to convert it from like COBOL into C++. This was like before 2010. I was involved in some of that shit in college. I got paid $20 an hour to do research, as well as earn independent credit that counted towards my graduation. It was fun. I learned a lot. Like, I think really, as a programmer, you owe it to yourself to get like your feet wet a little bit with how languages are constructed to begin with, how programs are built, how we actually end up with working binaries, and really understanding the difference between like compiled versus interpreted. So what does this have to do with security, right? So good security is really about just like not fucking the code up, and the less like input into a program there is, the easier it is to tighten controls around those inputs. Because obviously security is kind of a nightmare nowadays, mainly because organizations have such a huge attack surface that taking into account all of the different assets that need revision or need upgrading or, you know, infrastructure overhaul, like that shit gets expensive. That takes a lot of time. And this is one of the reasons that companies have claimed for years that they don't have a security budget. It's because they're operating off of old, antiquated, outdated systems, refuse to migrate, can always come up with some excuse as to why it's okay as it is, until they get fucking bankrolled by some Russian hackers who decide to crypto locker their shit, and then you're fucked. You know, then you have to pay a ransom, and then you're forced to like, you know, upgrade your shit. And it's better to do that like in the beginning, right? Like they say premature optimization equals death, but like any good devil's advocate, the fastest code, the most secure code, is actually no code. If that ain't the most zen shit you've ever heard from a software developer, I fucked up. So, no code, right? The less code, the better. This is just like principle, right? Like, if you have to have code, then there's certain things that you have to kind of like keep in mind and just conform to as you're like developing an application. But one of the more difficult things, because any reasonably sized website has some sort of login infrastructure, right? And actually one of the biggest bugs that I've found that has helped not only pay me real money, but also increase my rank on websites like BugCrowd, are cross-site scripting and open redirect vulnerabilities. In particular, misconfigurations of OAuth 2 that lead to open redirect. And usually what I'm able to do in order to achieve this is by manipulating the return type of the response. Usually whenever you like go to log in with some like OAuth shit and it passes off your credentials to like some endpoint that's like, you know, going to give you back either a code or a token. And if it's one or the other, I forget which, it triggers a callback, and the callback is something that's actually passed in as a parameter in the URL itself. So on certain conditions, if that callback gets triggered and there aren't proper checks on like what domains are acceptable in that like return URL, then you can just force the token generator to like shit out an error, which triggers the callback to the return URL, and then you can send them to wherever the fuck you want. And in some cases, you can actually leak their authentication tokens doing this. So why that's bad is if someone has if like someone's logged in to some website and they already have that token, or they already have some session and persistence, and then someone manages to like phish them into clicking a link that's crafted using one of these like open redirect vulnerabilities, then what can happen is potentially not only does the redirect fire off, but it fires off in a way where like the attacker gets a copy of their authentication token, which would allow them to log in as the user, perform actions on their account. So there's a number of different things there, right? Like there's lack of like proper checks occurring. There's, I mean, really that's the only thing that's occurring. In a proper implementation, in a proper configuration, and I think it's something that's actually handled on the config side, so it's not necessarily like a bug in the code so much as a bug with how the install is set up. Because I think in the proper setup, you're actually supposed to set up like trusted root domains in order to like prevent the possibility that someone redirects you off site. And even then, I've actually managed to like bypass whitelists in this fashion. As an example, I found some XSS on some site, and I attempted to like redirect somewhere, or something was injecting, but it was like not working for some reason. And then I realized that they had allowed scripts from Google. So what I did was I bypassed the whitelist by using Google's link generator, which is built into it was built to, so like there was this Google Hangouts that existed before Google Meets, and one of the interesting things that you could do with it is whenever you sent like a link to anywhere, it would pass it through a link generator that like I guess Google would use to scrub or like collect analytics. And whenever you would click on the generated link, you could see that it pointed to google.com and some big long hash afterwards, but then it would redirect to the link that you actually sent. So I used this to generate a link to somewhere off site and then managed to bypass their whitelist by using Google as the bypass mechanism. Another favorite thing that I like to do is when I'm like actually just bored and I'm like combing and I'm actually doing like recon and trying to like fuzz out infrastructure. one of the first things I do is I'll hit all of the available subdomains with just a plain old GET request to see whether or not the server responds. And in some cases, a domain will be good, but like the root of the domain returns 404. So in those situations, it's very possible that there's still content underneath the root. It just that for whatever reason, their server's not set up to like redirect root anywhere. So whenever it attempts to like grab the resource at root, and it doesn't have like a setup where like most places will automatically redirect to like index.html, but if it does that and there is no index.html, you 404. So you have to be like, and not to mention also you'll get 403s on a lot of root domains for different websites. So when you encounter these 404s and 403s, one of the things that you want to do is actually continue fuzzing. Like you want to actually dig underneath the hood and see what you can find behind those places. It's real talk. That's actually how I found my first SQLi. That's how I found my first SQL injection. It was the first bug that really accelerated how high up in my ranks I am. Like, they've actually since disabled the ranking system, but last I saw, I was like 1,700 on the site, which if you take into account that there's over 200,000 registered hackers on BugCrowd, actually puts me in the top 1%. It's pretty cool. I don't feel like a top 1% hacker, but apparently I am. Not trying to gloat. It just is what it is. But the point being that I didn't get here by like assuming I was good at anything. I got here by following my curiosities and like doing experiments that are interesting to me in order to see what is or is not possible. And in some cases, I've gotten paid for this. Bug hunting is kind of like an extension of like puzzle solving for me. It's kind of an opportunity to apply programmatic techniques to automation. I've created multiple games at this point, although very small ones, and definitely not complete. So, one dream in progress. The other dream, on the security side, is to independently find, some RCE on some website, and it pays me. I love the idea of remote code execution as a concept in general. It's the ultimate in vulnerabilities, right? Not just because it pays the most, but why does it pay the most? Why is it such a big deal? What is remote code execution? Let's break it down for all the children. So remote code execution is what happens when someone outside of your network, not related to you or your organization, without authorized access, finds a way to execute code on your machine. So right away, it's like wizard shit, right? Like it just sounds cool. You're doing something from far away on someone else's machine, and it's not just like remoting into a box that you spun up yourself. You're actually running code on someone else's machine as a first step in attempting to take it over. And so if someone, because it's like that's like entry point, right? If you find an RCE on a website, it's basically game over ish. I say ish because there's probably a lot of different sandboxing techniques that effectively make exploiting or fully actualizing the full damage of an RCE. Now that said, there have been some real stupid security blunders that have happened in recent memory. The most recent one I can think of is the not only the T app, but its competitor, T on Her. Apparently, T on Her straight up just had password 1 stored in plain text in a README file, which is just like, come on, kid, what are you doing? You're making an absolute mockery of like software developers. Normies are going to be questioning skilled people, experts. Like, do you want people like questioning developers in the same way that like Republican fucking retards question people during the pandemic? Like, oh, the coronavirus vaccine is so bad. Shut the fuck up. You know what you're fucking talking about. The myocarditis, a heart condition. Go fuck yourself. So, RCEs, security, right? Coronavirus was kind of like a RCE on mankind. It was a worm that escaped a box. And people who weren't patched up got hit. And some people's systems could take the hit, others couldn't. I say better to be patched up than take the risk. But here we are. A little bit after 4 years after Mom died from COVID-19. A little bit over 1 year after my grandma died from, officially it was congenital heart failure. Some people would say it's old age. At the end of the day, if something's going to happen, you know, you can try to prevent it all you want. You can do everything in your power to keep the car from falling off the cliff. But if it's so far, you know, over the line that, like, you know, the amount of force that you have available is just not enough to keep that shit up and it falls down, you can't really fault yourself for not trying, right? It's better to try than to not try. Even though Yoda did say do or do not, there is no try. Sometimes the forces that are against us in this world are greater than our own individual capacity. And I think this is the idea of where God is supposed to come from, and that there are things outside of your control that you cannot do anything about. You can do only so much, but there is a fundamental limit to the abilities of mankind. Looks like I got some other chats, but I can't see them. Hold on. Okay. $3:30. What are we doing? Still too high up. Nice. So far, so good. I have not wanted to yell at Quinn yet, which is great. That's actually really promising. Alright, let's see if that fixed it. There you go. So far, so good, actually. Yeah, Quinn is actually not bad so far. Like, actually kind of surprised. Alright, you get to vote. Do make more coffee, or do I actually eat lunch and crack open a Mountain Dew? I've started a new pattern where I make like mini sandwiches ahead of time. I made 4. I've eaten 1. I think I got 3 left. So that way, like, I'm not constantly having to make sandwiches, and I can just batch up my sandwich creation. That way I've got food for days, and I don't have to think about shit. Because when it comes to eating time, I don't wanna fuck with it. Won't think about shit when it comes to eating time. I just want to open up my fridge and relax my mind. Let's do Dungeon Floor. Oh, I forgot to add the make file. Oh, sweet. It updated it for me. Hell yeah. another benefit of doing this splitting too is hopefully I'll be able to like reduce how much code I have to ship up, you know, during these individual LLM sessions. One of the things I'm kind of obsessed with is the idea of like figuring out how to like reduce token usage in order to like maximize your context window. Because while in practice I've not like ever really hit the the context window limit very often, it's probably because I take the time to try and craft things in a way that's kind of minimalistic. At least that's what I like to think I'm doing. Uh-oh. Wait, 1920. Okay. Yeah, it does not look bad at this size. Not at all. Oh, whoops. I'm glad it warned me about that. Okay, well, I got that done a lot faster than expected. Everything still works good. Actually, let's verify that claim. Oh yeah, we're good. Looking pretty good. Yeah, I think it's time for a smoke and a sandwich and a Mountain Dew. And it's probably time for us to get like animation context, direction, start building up some of the movement capabilities, figure out how to get the turn-based infrastructure working again. Get our dude moving from tile to tile, and also get him walking, and get it so that his direction facing corresponds with the real direction that he's facing. That's good enough. Alright, so hero direction, right? The idea is going to be that we can do something like this. And that would be something like direction down. Let's see, gameplay scene. Um, so that's just going to be a dir, but it's just going to be a wrapper around a direction. So now, back over in gameplay scene, this will actually be dir. And it's totally cool with that. In addition to that, because we have 8 directions, the way that I handle this, because our assets, our sprites, only have 4 directions. Up right, up left, and down right. It's actually down right, down left, up left, in that order. So I typically do some sort of translation step where the player's actual direction is translated into which context we need to be using. So actually, so I have a -1 starting this one off because positionally, like when we build the sprite group for a given entity, what we're doing is we're attaching sprites to another object. And whenever one of these sprites is selected, one of its contexts is going to be used to calculate which row of the sprite sheet of the texture are we actually like rendering from. Because we have animation working, which is the column. That's what actually moves the column of the source of the rectangle through our sprite sheet. But to move it up and down, we're going to have this idea of the sprite context. So in sprite.h, our current context and our num context we're storing those as integers right now. And that's probably fine. We probably don't even need a whole sprite context file for this. I'm going to leave it there anyway. So that way, like, you don't have to hard code. So there will be some hard coding because of the way that the sprite sheets are arranged, but this is to be expected. Do I know TypeScript? No, I do not know TypeScript. So now that the hero has a direction component at all, what we'll be able to do is, depending on what his direction is, we'll be able to select or like update the source on the rectangle, we'll be able to update the source on the sprite. So I'm not going to update it here. I'm going to actually do that in a separate step, but just as a test. Okay, yeah, CT-get. So remember that dir corresponds to an enum, right? Oh, it actually got him facing backwards now. That's interesting. Oh, that's because down is at 2. But also, we shouldn't be using dir here like that. What we should actually be doing is taking the D and then converting it into our context. So to do that, typically I have some sort of like long ass if statement equation type deal. So you would do like if D exactly equal to dir down, and actually better yet, to make this easier, let's see, down left, down right, up left, up right, up left. So if we do it this way, we can at least like maintain a little bit of a one-to-one for the first few indices. Actually, we can make none. Actually, yeah, let's. So now 0, 1, 2, 3 corresponds to 0, 1, 2, 3 over here. So we've got a little bit of a one-to-one going on. So now we can kind of avoid doing that direct conversion. So we can actually go back to what we had. So see, he's facing down here, right? So that's expected and normal. Although the 4 would definitely put him outside of bounds. That should be a bug. So actually, this needs to be down right for this to be accurate. Oh, it's not rebuilding shit. Hold on. I gotta update the make file to take into account some of these. Okay, so he's correct there. Oh, good. Okay, he's facing the correct direction there. Perfect. Up right here. and then up left. Okay, so we've got the basic directions. All right, so programmatically, that's a good start. But, like, we need to do two things to get movement working. Really, three. And even then, like, once we get all that stuff going, we're going to need to not only drop other entities in, but also, like, get them moving, too, independently from us. And that's a little bit of a stepping stone, but we'll get there. We'll get it all cranked out. Slowly but surely wins the race. Oh, we got some chatters. What is your advice to learn quickly any language and start coding with understanding what you writing? Honestly, Max Stetsev, in any early programmer's journey, there's going to be a lot of, unless you're just like the type that picks up syntax really quickly, you're going to end up having to do a lot of like initial legwork, wrapping your mind around like how to write code in general. At the end of the day, the fastest way to learn is probably to just sit down and start making stuff and start doing it. To create an environment where you can just try things out and just observe how they work and kind of like walk through steps that maybe you find in a tutorial and try to like actually do it, because there's a difference between like studying material and like reading about stuff, and then there's like actually doing stuff. And sometimes you have to read a little bit in order to do something, and that's okay. But you shouldn't like there's going to be times where your program works and you're not sure why. Just like there's going to be times where your program doesn't work and you don't know why. It's kind of like a case-by-case basis. But the best thing you can do is to just do it. If you're in the middle of coding, or if you're actively coding and you're just trying to figure out a way to like step your game up, then it's a really good time to consider taking a break and consuming materials from more advanced programmers and read regular ass fucking API documentation, read language specification and documentation in general, and try not to flood yourself too badly. Like, give your brain a break. Take some time to let your brain digest the stuff that it's taken in. Don't burn yourself out by doing this so often that you don't take time to do other things I say as I've been on for like 4 hours. Well, we've gotten some attention today. I think now might be a good time to take a break for real, for real. So I want to thank everyone who's showed up in the chat. We'll be doing more of these office hours in the near future. Hopefully with some like consistency and regular schedule too. So I think if people want to hit me up, I'm going to try and get a bite to eat, you know, get rolling, pick up my crib a bit, and touch grass again. So thanks to everybody who has participated today. Love you guys. Take it easy. Until next time. This is Dark Mage signing out.